video, so you can have a functional snake game by the end of this. So what we want to do first of all is well, you need to check basically every loop to make sure we're not actually out of bounds. So if our position, which is x1, is greater than or equal to the width of the screen, so this width, or it's less than 0, so it's so the width is the very right hand side of the screen, and less than 0 is the very left hand side of the screen. If it's greater than the width, so it's greater than here, it's out of bounds. If it's less than 0, it's less than the left side, so it's out of bounds as well. So we also then just need to do the same for the y. Y greater than or equal to So we just set the game close variable to true, which will trigger our game over message to come up. Important to just make sure we run these as we go, just to make sure that we're doing it right. So I've actually got an error here, or x1, sorry. I'll make sure we call that variable each time. So x1, let's try that again. So nothing's going to happen again, but it's good to test it as you go so that you know that syntax errors in here. One other thing to mention here, where this indent actually occurs, this is actually in line with your for event in Pygame get, the second one you do. So it's not in line with these if statements, it's not in line with these if statements, it's basically 2 indent blocks back. Okay, so it's for event in Pygame, so it's in line with this one here. You've got to make sure it's in line there, or it's just not going to happen. So this update loop is in line with this if statement above it here. So we're going to be updating the snake's position here. So x1 x1 underscore change. So that plus equals, that's the same as saying x1 equals x1 plus change, but this is just a shorthand version of doing it. So it's just nice to kind of put in a few of these shorthand things as we've been doing this for a while now. And then y1 change. So every loop we want to redraw the background, which is white, and then we want to redraw these rectangles, so our actual snake. So Pygame.draw.rect. So that just updates our snake's position, and then it draws it for us there. Now the food as well, we actually want to draw the food as well. So Pygame.draw.rect. And the positional arguments we're going to give it is the food x and the food y, which we actually created earlier when we were doing the round stuff. And so that's the x and y, and the size of the food are going to be the same size as the snake, so we'll choose that variable again. Okay, so the snake's head and the snake's body need to be contained in kind of different lists, because the body is going to follow the head as it goes round. So we're going to make an empty list for the snake's head. And we are basically, as we go round, the positions, the x1 and y1, are going to be appended into the header of the snake. So we're going to do snake head dot append x1, and then snake head dot append y1. So basically what I'm saying here, and I've added a little note here, each of these appends actually creates like a mini list, so it creates like an X and a Y every single time. So our snake head has like an X and a Y in it, but then when we do this next bit, so this next bit here, when we do the snake list dot append and we append the snake head, we've created these kind of mini lists inside our snake list. And what I said earlier was about when we draw the snake list, we go right back up to the top here, and I said about for X in snake list, we had an X which had a 0 and a 1 position. Well, that is because here, when we append it so each position of the snake list has a X and a Y, this X and this Y here. And then we draw the X position, which is this, and then we draw the Y position, which is here. So these two are actually their positions, actually, which is saved from here. Our next bit here is just to basically overwrite our first position in the list. So if the length of the snake list greater than the snake length, so basically this is something which is more or less always going to trigger true. So we want to delete the first position in the snake list because we don't want the head position to also be saved in the snake list position because of this next piece of code here. So basically here I'm saying that if we're going to iterate through the snake list, apart from the very last item in the snake list, because that's likely to be not something we want to iterate through. So we're going to go through every item in the snake list, and if one of those items in the snake list is the same as the snake's head, then that means that the body and the head have collided and the game close needs to happen. Okay, so basically this bit here, if we crash into our body, this is where we actually call the game over state there. So now to draw the snake, we've actually got a function for drawing the snake above already. We now just need to give it the arguments it needs. So it needs the snake size, and it needs some positions. So that's the snake list, and then the score. We can draw that as well. And the score is going to take the snake length as the number for our actual score. So if we actually look at this function here, snake, that we created, here snake takes the snake size, takes the snake list, iterates through the snake list, and for every position in the snake list, bearing in mind that every position is an X and a Y, it draws a rectangle to the display, which is green, to the X and Y positions with a height and width of 10. Okay, it does that for every single item in the list, and that is how we get the snake's body. Now, we just need to update the display as well, so that we can actually draw these things. And now we need to actually check if the snake is in the same position as the food. So if our position is the same as food X and our Y position is the same as food Y, so that means we're at exactly the same coordinates. We want to generate a new piece of fruit, a new piece of food at different coordinates, and then we want to add one to our score. So the this line here, we want exactly the same thing. So it looks like that. So that will generate a new piece of food at a totally random new coordinates, and then we just want to add one to our snake length, because that's going to keep we're going to keep track of our score there. Now finally, nearly done. We'll see this whole thing is working. What we want to do is we want to update the clock at the given snake speed. So our clock which we created, the tick of it, so how many frames per second basically, is going to be the snake speed. And like I said, the bigger the snake speed number is, so at the moment set to 15, so if we made that larger, it would make more ticks per second, so more loops would happen per second, so the snake would travel faster and the game would actually be more difficult. Now finally, we're going to go back a line, so we're just indented one, so we're not in line with these, and we're going to pygame.quit, and then we're going to quit as well, and then last thing to do is to call the game loop. And that's it. So let's actually have a look and see if it runs. Any second. Okay, so quit is not defined. Oh, sorry. So this quit, obviously, like all of our other ones, we've got pygame dot at the front of it. This quit needs a pygame dot as well. Okay, basically I've not put, you got to check your variables as you go through. Display width isn't correctly done, so this should have a capital W. And we're going to try it. So this is the every loop check if you're out of bounds, so display width. You've got to make sure you're consistent with your naming there, so capital W. Of course, we've missed a comma here, so our def score bit here, when we actually go to draw it, we need a comma in between here, or else it's not going to like that. Okay. And looking good. There we go. So, snake now. And you can see all the code popping up in the background. That's our, I said there was like that optional print statement. So that is actually how that's happening. So like I said, you can make it quicker, you can make it slower, if it's too hard, if it's too easy. You can change the size of the screen as well by changing the dis height and dis width values. So there we go. Now I've actually, I've crashed here, but I've hit another error here. So let's have a look. So colour is not defined. Oh, I've called it colour with a U, and then colour, C-O, the American and the English spelling of colour there. Typical. Right, fine now. Okay, still moving okay. Still collecting apple okay. There we go, play again, yes or no? Yes. And there we go. Okay. So make sure you check those errors and remember, you can do, you can change those variables, you can make it difficult, you can make it harder. I'll just show you where to change those if you want to. So if we want to change the snake speed, so we want it to go twice as fast, we change it to 30 there. And you can see that is a lot faster now, so that is a lot more difficult. So if you want to mess with your little brother or something, or your family, and give them like a really hard one to play, and then you play like a much easier version and see if you can beat them. That's the way to do it. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and now that you've got your own version of a working snake game, you can change some of the inputs and muck around with all the variables, and obviously just make sure before you play it you have Pygame installed and you check those errors. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.